on? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I see some of you on already. Send me a comment. I'm just getting my comment set up here so that I can see who's on. So send me a hello and tell me you are watching. Thanks for spending your Wednesday with me. I love doing these Wednesday lives, and I especially love it when I have something new and exciting to show you. So I'm going to let a few more people jump on, and then I will show you what I have today. I think you're going to really like this tutorial. I hope you do. I sure like doing it for you. So let me see who's on, you guys. Send me a message. Okay, here we go. Hello, Jane. Jane was the first comment I see on here. Debbie Hedges is on. Debbie is from Salem, so she's right in our backyard. Regina, Carol, good morning to all of you. I should say good morning to my friends because I feel like we're all just kind of meeting for coffee. I have my coffee. It's off screen because I have spilled it before. So I do make sure that I don't spill it over my work. But I do have my coffee. So get your coffee or your tea and come join me. Hello from the UK to Helen. Hello, Dee. Dee is on. Barbara, hello. Shelby, hello. Margaret, yes, Margaret, new release. So two new sets this time. And you guys on Facebook, you get it a day early. So the official release isn't until Thursday when the newsletter comes out. But you guys get to see it first. So I'm going to show you two new sets today that I kind of made to go with the foundations. So those of you who saw the live last week, I did a sample of the foundations for you. They're just so much fun. I am going to work my way through all of them. So I did the potting shed. So those of you who haven't seen them, maybe this is your first time seeing anything from the new release. Here's the potting bench that I did last time. And you can see the little image up here. This is actually what the stamp looks like. But by the time we add all the foliages and flowers and everything to it, I mean, it just becomes this giant big piece of art. And it's just so fun. There are four of these in this line. So here's the potting bench. This is the wood table. And you can see, same concept. So it's sort of like fill in the blanks. It really is. You stamp this basic image, and then you can just fill in all these flowers and foliages and everything else into there. This one is the chairs. I love this one. So fun. Remember, with these stamps, you can do parts. So you could take maybe one chair and a pot and just put that over by itself. So like I said, I am gonna work my way through all of these. There are a lot of new things, you guys. I'm so excited to show it all to you. And then this one, the door. So another one that's super fun. So you can see up close how you just kind of fill in the blanks, and then you end up with this huge project that needs to go in a frame. I mean, that's just the bottom line is, when you create these big, huge, beautiful images, put it in a frame and just put it in the mail to someone. They'll just love it. They'll just absolutely love it. So let me say hi to a few more people here. Melody from Elk Grove. Okay, love it down there. Love the foundations. Thank you for that. Can't wait to get them. They are shipping. So they are in-house. They're shipping. We're shipping them as fast as we can. So it will get to you shortly. These two new sets, even though we're releasing them a day early just for you guys, they are in stock. So they will go out too right away. So let me say hello, Jane. Hello, Ruth Ann. Hello to all of you. Georgia is on. Georgia, our fabulous resident artist. She has traveled all over the U.S. She is an amazing artist. She is on. Mary Whalen Clemens, hello. Irma is on. Mary Nielsen, hello to all of you guys. I wish I could go through here and just say hello and send you all a comment because I appreciate you being on here so much. But we are getting to the project. So are you guys ready? With the foundations in mind, okay, we are going to release these two new sets. So here they are. This one is the little veggie set. This will be so cute for fall to be able to put things into all those containers. So think about that, the potting bench, the table, the door. You'll be able to put all of these little veggies into these little pots. Now, I have had pumpkins in the past, but I haven't had all of these other things that I just love, love, love. In addition, okay, so these little peeking characters, I also just love these. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna do a tutorial. So my first intention was to do another foundation and use some of these in that image, but I feel like I want to go through and make sure you understand how to color them all. There are tips and tricks to all of them. So I want to just take one Watercolor Wednesday, one Wednesday, and just do a color tutorial on these so that you understand how to color them. They're so cute, and even though they're small, there are ways to do it, and it's not hard. And once you understand that, you're gonna just be amazed at what you create. So that's our tutorial for the day. I'll show you a close-up of that as soon as I get my camera switched around. But let me show you them to you again, and I will show them to you close up too. So here they are. Here are the veggies. These are ready to go right now. This one is 5426 watercolor veggies. This one is 5425 peeking animals. So you can find them on our website right now. They are available, and I'm going to show you guys how to color them because I can't have you be intimidated by anything that you're not sure about. So I do love these. I think they're so much fun. So let's get into this tutorial. Sheila says 1 million for the peeking critters. They really are fun. And you know what? I don't want you to be intimidated by them. They're not scary to do. They're super, super fun. And I hope you like this tutorial. And maybe you'll learn something too. You know, I know I've done tutorials on how to color, the cats and the dogs. I know Kendra has too. But these little characters are a little different. So I'm gonna get going on that. So I will try to watch my comments and try to see if there are any questions. But I'm pretty sure that Joel is on. He can answer questions. George is on. She can answer questions. And I will go back through the comments and I will answer any questions that haven't been addressed. Okay? Okay, you guys, so let's get going. Let me get my camera switched over. And get myself situated. I'm going to zoom in pretty close to these because they are small. So let me just make sure that I'm in close so that you guys can see. And I've got my palette ready. So here are the little veggies. Now there are two in that set. There are two pumpkins in that set. I'm going to show you how to do both of these colors. The tomato, the green pepper, which of course can be red or yellow, the artichokes, the broccoli, and then the butternut squash. So I'm going to show you these. I'm also going to show you how to color those little animals. Aren't they cute? So cute. I'm going to show you what to do, what not to do. So we'll get to those too. So let's get started with these little guys. And let me just move everything out of the way so that I can get myself ready here. Now, if you don't own a #1 brush and you want to do these little details, I would really encourage you to get one. Especially for these small little areas and for these little guys, you really, really do need a tiny little brush like this one. This one works great. One brush will do the trick. You can use your #4. It's just a little more difficult. It will work, but I would really encourage you. They're not super expensive if you don't have one. Just get one. And if you do have one, get it out and use it because you are going to love doing these little characters. And you can see they just fit into the little containers. So if you kind of envision here, let me show you. So here's one of the foundations. See all the pots and everything in here? There's so many places that you can tuck these little critters. You can just kind of put them everywhere. So see their little paws are sticking out, and then you can tuck them into the container. So I'm going to show you at the very end. We'll put one of these little critters in a container and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So let's get going on this. Let's start out with the veggies. They're pretty quick. So I'm going to just ink 2 of these. This is the These are the little pumpkins. So I'm going to ink them in the brown, the dark brown. So that is this, the 969, just one color with these. Even if you're doing the white or you're doing the orange. And depending on how dark they stamp, now that's too dark. So I'm going to stamp that off. And you could also do it 3 times and decide how dark do I really want this. So here's the 1, here's 2, and here's 3. So it's kind of up to you. If you like that really dark, intense color, go ahead and use that first or second one. I tend to like things to where I don't see the outline as much. And so I usually opt for the lighter color. So we're going to start out. And now you may be wondering why we would stamp in the brown when the pumpkin is going to be orange or white. It's because we need to have some sort of substance to the image. If we just stamp it in orange, it doesn't have enough substance. I wish there were a better word that I could think of to tell you. It doesn't look like a real thing. It looks like a stamped image. It's not concrete enough. It doesn't look like an actual pumpkin. And so it's really important to get these concrete colors in here and then add the color to it. So I'm dipping my brush now. Now I'm using my number 4. So when I switch and use my number 1 on some of these, I'll tell you when I'm doing that so that you can see. So now, just like any rounded container, anything that we do with a contour, we're going to make sure the sides are darker. These are rounded, so they have contours. So we've got to see that highlight in the center. So I'm just dragging this color out now from the side and dragging it to the center. And remember, we're going to add color to this. So let's go ahead and go on to this one down here. And I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to just drag this color out from where it's the darkest. Now this is going to be the light colored one. So this will be the white one, but we're going to start it out the same exact way. Okay. Now I'm going to take my fine tip. So here's my fine tip, and I'm going to really darken these stems. And you can just kind of follow the lines on them. You want to kind of see some lines. You want to see some details. So you don't really want to color them in solid. And even after you've added the water onto here, you can kind of see where the detail is. And that will just really pop these out. See how that pops these out? It really, really makes a difference. Okay, so let's add our orange now. We're going to do that from the palette. Now, if you look at pumpkins, or when you buy them at Halloween or whenever you buy them, there are a lot of different colors. There's a lot of different oranges. Some of them are more yellow. Some of them are more red. So that is totally up to you. You're going to do the color exactly the way that you want to. And, if you want more yellow to it, you can just add a little more yellow, just like this. Or you can use a lighter orange. You can use something that maybe has a little more yellow in it, like this one. See the difference here? So, or you can mix, which is also really, really fun. You can mix those colors. So again, start out where it's the darkest, and you're going to apply that color to the side. Now, this is a process, so be patient and just kind of apply that color, and then drag it to the center. And you can see how that brown in here really, really enhances things and makes it look more realistic. So rounded with a highlight in the center. So let's make another pass now. And we're just going to start on the side again. And we're just going to brush this in. Now the top of the pumpkin should be pretty light too. This is where the light is coming. And you can see all these kind of little bumps up here. They're going to have a little highlight at the top. So keep that in mind. You never want the very top of the image to be the darkest. You always want that to be kind of at the bottom. And let's just add a little different orange in here, which we can do. So down here, down at the bottom, this is going to be much darker than at the top. It's such a subtle little thing, but what it tells your eye is that this is rounded and that the light is up here and this is at the bottom. So it's sort of like it's just kind of sending a message that this is a rounded thing. Okay? And that's really all we have to do. If you want to put a shadow under it, maybe you want to just set it onto the ground and you just want to put a shadow under it, you can do that with a blue, a dark blue. This is number 565. And let me just tell you what those colors were, because I always forget to do this. This is a 925. This is the orange I used. And then the yellow was 993 if you want to use yellow. And you can mix these colors together. You can add more color to it. You can put a little yellow highlight in here if you want to. Don't be afraid to do that. You know, mix these colors. You know, get this really dark down under here. And then leave this light, kind of light at the top. So now if you want to do a shadow, you can do a blue shadow, or you can actually mix a little blue and brown like this. And you can just do a little shadow just like this underneath. And you can see that just kind of sets it right down on the ground. Just like that. Okay, so let's go on to this one. Now we're gonna make it white. So we're not gonna just leave it white. We're gonna add a little blue shadow to it. Just kind of on the side. And again, we're gonna keep that color the darkest on the bottom. And I'm mixing some of these little colors together too to make sure that's really dark on the bottom. And put that color on and then dip your brush and then just kind of blend it out. And this too, you can just put a little shadow right underneath. As long as the sides of the image are darker than the center, you've got a rounded container, or you've got a rounded image. Okay, so there we go on those two. Pretty simple, huh? Very simple. Okay, let's go on to the next one. I'm just going to turn my paper over, and let's go on to these guys. So here are the artichokes. Let's do the artichokes, and let's do the broccoli. Let's do these two together. Okay, so I'm going to ink this one. Now, artichokes have a little brown in them, so we're going to use two colors with this one. Again, we kind of need that color to, you know, sort of concrete the image. So I'm using this dark brown, 969, and then I'm using a green, so the 177, and I'm just going to ink this right over the top. And then I'm going to stamp it off. So I'm just going to stamp it off down here because that's way too dark. I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp it over here onto my paper. Okay, just like that. I'm going to do the same thing with the broccoli. I'm going to add just a little bit of brown to it and some green. Same green, and then just stamp this one off as well. Okay, so now with these two, here's the light coming down from the top, and I'm going to use my tiny little brush this time. So I'm going to my number 1, and think about the light coming down. These are all little individual sections. I should just try to zoom in a little bit closer here with, if I can. Okay, these are all separate little sections. And so you're going to get each one of these individually. This is where the tiny little brush comes in, but this will pay off if you do this. This is how to make something look more contoured and more three-dimensional. And you know, one of the rules of watercolor is not to cross the lines. You want to always stay in your section, the section that you're working in. You always want to stay in that section. So you don't want to just take your brush and just cross over and just kind of obliterate those lines. See how three-dimensional that is already? And I've left, you know, a little tiny highlight on each one. And as you go up, so you're going to see that light coming down. So let's just put a little green, just putting a little green on my palette and mixing a little brown with it. And then I'm going to just darken this little stem here. And same with this one. And then we're going to just move over to here. We're going to do the same thing. And just kind of drag it. Just use your little brush. Take your time. It's worth it, you guys. It's worth it to take your time and do these little details because it really, really, really makes a difference. Now I'm just going to put a little shadow under here. So you can see that that's kind of leaning over the top of this one. Okay? And we can do the same thing. We can do the same thing with a shadow on here too. You know, if these are kind of standing up or leaning against some. Now let's just say we, let's just ink this again with the brown and the green. And let's stamp it off. And let's turn it. So let's just say this is laying down. So it's kind of laying down on the, you know, on a table like this. So in this case, the light is up here, right? So wherever the light is, that's the top. You know, that's the top of the image is where the light is. So now that highlight changes to the top. So it doesn't matter what direction you're stamping this, whether you're laying it down or standing it up. The highlight will be at the top. As you're going, and then darker as you go down here. So down here where your shadow is, that's where it's going to be the darkest, is down at this area. And then let's just darken this here. These little stems. And if you get each one of these little guys individually, you're going to have something that's three-dimensional. And then you can stamp another one. So you can stamp a whole group of them in here. This one looks like it's kind of floating in the air. But the point is that you can build these into a container. You can stamp more than one. And whatever direction you're stamping it, doesn't matter. You're still going to color it the same way. You're going to leave the top with the highlight. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's go on and do the little broccoli now. Looks like a little miniature tree. So same with this. So let's just take that and let's just lay it down. So let's just turn it like this. Let's just say it's stamped, you know, it's stamped on top of something. It's laying down like this. Here's the highlight up here. It's the same. It wouldn't matter how this is stamped. Here's the top, here's the top, here's the top. So that just means that you don't have, you want to make sure to leave that little highlight at the top. And you always start where it's the darkest. You always start pulling the color out from where it's the darkest. And you can't, you know, even though we started with that brown, you can't see it at all. But it does give a little more depth and substance, you know, to these little images, because we don't want them to look like a stamped image. We want it to look like an actual, you know, piece of broccoli. So now this one, see how it's kind of leaning over? Here, this would be the darkest part, down here. This would be the darkest area. And as you come up here, see, here's where the light is. So this area is going to be the lightest. And this area will be the darkest. So kind of the reverse. And you can mix, You know, you can mix the greens. You can add a little warm green and cool green together. Let's just do that. Here's a little cool green. And I've got this so zoomed in now, you can't even see my palette. But you can add a little cool green in here. You can add some yellow. You know, when you look at these veggies and stuff, you know, it's amazing how many colors really are in them. You know, when you think about, oh, broccoli, that's just, you know, that's just green, but it really has a lot of different colors in it. Okay, so same thing with the shadow. It's just going to be down here at the bottom, just like this one would be. I feel like I keep going off the screen here, so let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's keep going here. So we've done those two. Let's do the green pepper. Let's do the green pepper and the tomato. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the brown on the tomato and then stamp it off. And then look at it, you know, and decide, do we want it to be even lighter than that? And let's do the green pepper. Same thing. Stamp it in the brown. Stamp it off. And look at it. Am I on the screen here? Here we go. Wow, I just am off the screen. Let me just go down a little bit here. Okay, there we go. So let's start out with the tomato, rounded. You know, obviously this is rounded. I'm using my tiny little brush. And we're just making it look three-dimensional. Let me just show you something really quickly here. You know, we did this little artichoke, and here's why it's really important to leave those highlights and not cross the lines, because, you know, even if you stamp it in the right colors, if you just go over it with your brush, you can see what happens. You know, this doesn't look anything like this, and it will just become a big blob. And you know, you can stamp it perfectly, you can use the right colors, you can use the right paper, but if you're not pulling the color out the correct way, you know, where you're showing that highlight and creating something three-dimensional, this is what you're going to get, and this cannot be fixed. I don't know how you could fix this, because there's no highlights here and it just looks flat. You can't even tell what it is. It's the same thing with all of these. It would be the same with this one too. You know, this little broccoli. If you cross these lines and you just blend everything together, you don't have any substance at all. No contour, nothing that shows what that actually is. So it is really important to pull the color out like this. Pay attention to where those contours are, and get that highlight in. Okay, so let's get some red on this tomato. And I'm using an A56, but you can use any red that you have. I think I also have a, what's this red? 885, you can use that one too. You can use any red. Now, you can add a little orange to it too. So maybe you really want a tomato that has a little more warmth to it. Add a little orange. And just blend these colors together. Start out light and add the color where it's the darkest first. So that would be on the sides. Dip your brush in water and pinch it off and pull that color to the center. Just drag it over. Red is a little tricky to add because that color is so deep. So you want to do this in layers. Make sure you leave that highlight, you know, on there. And then let's come back in again. Just like this. And I'm going to let that dry just for a minute, and I'm going to come in and do my little stem And I'm going to use my fine tip actually. So my number 1. And I'm just going to put this little detail in. You can mix the greens too. You know, mixing the two together will give you a little different look. And now let's switch back now that that's dried. And you can just keep adding this color, this red, until you get a really deep color. Just get that, you know, leave that little highlight on there and just keep going. You know, in this one too, if it's turned a little bit, that red, you know, if it's turned on its side, you're still going to have that same highlight in there. Okay, let's go on to that little green pepper or yellow pepper, red pepper. So if you were going to make this red, you could just do it the exact same way. Tip to remember, when you're coming from red, make sure you really clean your brush out. And I'm going to switch to my tiny little brush again. So this one, kind of like the, you know, like the little, like the pumpkins, it's got some bumps on the top. So you kind of want to just pay attention to those. And just put that color on and leave that highlight. Leave this, you know, area at the top. Leave a little light area up here. So it's not all the same. It's not super dark. And take your time. You know, it's worth it to take your time and carefully add the color to these. It's going to pay off. And what we're going for, you know, is a painting. We want this to look like a painting. And you can get that. You really can. You know, and a little practice. If you want to, you know, use these little veggies and put them in some containers, take a big piece of watercolor paper and just stamp it. Stamp this little pepper, you know, a dozen times and just practice putting the color on it. Turning it, you know, if you were to turn this again, same thing. If you turn it, it's going to, the highlight is going to be on the top. So in this case, it would be the side. And you can make this color as deep as you want to. So I've got that little highlight on the top, and you just keep putting the color in. And I'm just gonna make this really dark. And we can do the same here with just a little shadow. Okay? Okay, you guys, let's move on. Let's go on to our little critters here. We're going to do all 5 of these, and we're going to stamp them in the brown. So let's start out with, and actually I'll show you a couple of ways. So let's start out with the bunny here. So I'm going to stamp it in the brown first. And I'm going to stamp it off. It's going to be too dark. So I'm going to stamp it once, and then I can look at that and decide if I want to go a little bit lighter, which I think I do. Let's go a little bit lighter on that one. And then I'm going to clean this off, and let's make a gray one. So let's make a little tan one. And this one on here in the sample that I did, this one's a little brown. It's got a little brown on it, so it's a little tan bunny. But let's make a gray one, and I'll show you how to do that. We're just going to start with a different color combination. So we're still going to do the brown, the dark brown. Now, when I say the brown, it's the 969. And I'm going to use a black on top. Now this is an N25, it's just a black, a watercolor black, and we're going to stamp this over the top. Now I'm going to stamp this off again and stamp it, and then do it one more time and look at it and see. And I think I'm going to opt for the light ones on both of these. So let's do that. I want to make sure I'm on the center of the screen. So let's do the little brown one first. Now the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take a fine tip black and I'm going to darken the eyes and the nose. This is like the first step. And it adds so much life and character to these little guys that I always do this first. See how that just pops that little guy out? And this is the focal point. So you want to see those eyes and you want to see that face, and the eyes always need to look bright. Bright, bright, bright. So you don't want to get too much color around them. So I'm going to use my fine tip now. Pinch my brush off and just start pulling this color out. Keep it light, keep it very light. You can always come back in and add more color. This area here, you always want to keep that light. And then as you come down, you know, I tend to always leave a white chest. I just do that. I don't know, I kind of do it automatically. So I always leave a little white chest on these guys. So you can see we've got a really good starting place. I'm leaving the little paws white too. And his little nose, this little nose area, make that light. And then let's just color his little ears in solid. So I'm gonna just, since I'm working on this one, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit there so you can see. Okay, so now is when we would add the color to it. So I'm just gonna move my palette over here so that I can put the color on here. I'm gonna use a warm brown now. So this is a 947. And I'm just gonna add some of this color now to this little guy. So it's kind of like we're painting the foundation, and now we're gonna add some color to it. And this is a warm brown. You know, again, we've got contours here. So, you know, if you think about, you know, where the edge of the contour is, that's always gonna be the darkest. You know, including his little face here. Now, you know, when we do the, you know how we do the stamp off. So we stamp things 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the vines, the flowers, a lot of the filler flowers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when we add the water to it, the dark comes forward and the light fades back. And when you add something dark here, you know, and you contour the cheek, you're kind of bringing this forward. And you're creating a little more contour here. So it's kind of that same concept. We're bringing this forward and it looks like the cheek is kind of popping out. Don't get too close to the eye, but just get that cheek in there. And if you want to, you can add just a little tiny bit of red and put a little red cheek in here for him. We can also add some red and put that, you know, really lightly into his ear. You know, light red that is really watered down is pink. And then just another coat. You can make this as dark as you want. This is that same red. So I'm just using, here's my red over here. I'm just using a tiny little bit of it with water. And you can see how realistic these little guys are. They're just so cute. And if you understand, you know, how to color them, they're not intimidating. They're not intimidating at all. So if you want to, we can make him we can make his little mouth here. We can give him a little mouth like this. We can give him some little whiskers. You want a very fine marker. Could put his little paws back in and darken that. Put a little more pink. And see the top, even though he's a little brown bunny, you get that he's a brown bunny, even though you don't have a lot of color on the top of his face. Now here's the difference. Here's the difference if we don't pay attention, you know, to those rules. And I can't tell you this enough, you guys. You got to stay in the lines. You got to keep that area where the eyes are light. Keep those areas, you know, separate. And this is what happens if you don't do that. And see how dull the face is. The face is so dull. Even if you take a fine point and really darken the eyes, it's still dull. There's no light to the character like there is with this one. So even though it feels really weird to leave that light, it's so important to do that. It really, really is. And this little guy looks like he has so much more personality than this one. Okay, so let's go on and let's do this little gray one. I just want to give you the option because I'll just do this on the bunny, but you would do all the characters like this. So if you want them to be more brown, you're going to start with that brown. If you want them to be more gray, you still want to do the brown, but you want to do the black over the top. You could also do the blue. You could do the brown and the blue and stamp it off. So that's also another option. Okay, so let's just pull the color out again. Whoops, let's do the eyes. Something's bugging me here. It's because I can't see his little eyes. And his little nose. And I'm going to switch to my little fine point again. And you can see this is much cooler now. The color is much cooler when we added the black to it. And that just means that it's more gray. And just pull this color out. Just keep going around. You know, it's going to be darker on the bottom. You know, and leaving the little white chest, that's totally up to you. Like I said, I just kind of automatically do that now. Just think it's cute. You can see the difference now in the color. See the difference between these two and this one. And we can still do the same little pink ear. Let me just add some red over here. And let me add some black over here. Okay, so now this is how much red I'm taking, like just the tiniest little bit, and adding it into the ear. You can always come back and add a little more. And just keep, you know, add as much as you want to. It's going to be darker the closer it is to his head. So it's going to be darker in here. And you could just add a little bit of pink to his nose too. And you can add some pink to his cheek. The cheek, you know, should be the darkest because it's coming out, you know, it's more prominent. I guess that's a good word. And we can make him darker. You can add more gray to him and make him darker. That's perfectly fine. Just keep it away from this area. Just fade it out. You know, add the color and then blend it to the center so you don't get a real heavy line. And just take your time. And there we go. So you can see, let me zoom out a little bit here. You can see the difference between the two. So the little gray guy, this one, and the little brown one. And then you can obviously do something in between. You know, you can kind of, you know, add little speckles and spots to it. However you want to. But the rule, again, you know, it's the same rule. It's just the same rule. What to start with. If you want something a little cooler, you're going to start with that brown and black or brown and blue. And then, you know, with these warmer colors, so the browns, you can start with just the brown. Okay, so let's keep going here. Let's go on to the little squirrel. This little guy. So let's just do the brown here. We're just going to ink that with the same brown, 969. And we're going to stamp it off. And then stamp it. And I think that's good. I think that's good there. That's not too dark. And let me zoom in now and get up close. Okay, number one. You see how faded out the eye is? That is the first thing that we're going to fix. We're going to add that black to it. This little black marble eye and his little nose. And this little guy is so simple. So I'm using my tiny little brush again, and I'm just pulling the color out. Do his little face. Same thing with the cheek. Same thing with the cheek. We're going to add a little more color to the cheek to make that cheek pop out. You see that contour that was created with that dark color? It made that cheek just look rounded. Like he's just got these big plump cheeks full of who knows what. Nuts. Probably nuts. And again, this area, the very top, that's going to be light. So let's add some of this warm brown to him. Get his little ears and his little cheek. And here I go again with the little chest, you know. Always have the little chest that's white. And we can add a little pink to his cheek too. And we can add just a little bit of color here, but not a ton. Really want that to be super light. And what I do, I am constantly pinching my brush off. You know, when I'm doing these tiny, tiny little areas, if I think I'm getting too much color, I just pinch my brush off. And just add a little more brown to him. On here just like that. So cute. And then you can, you know, add color around. You know, when you're putting them in little containers, or he's just, you know, peeking behind something, maybe an old stump, he's just peeking behind. You know, when you put the color around them, it really, really kind of sets them off too. See how simple that is? It's just so simple. Just nothing to it, you guys. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on and do the, which one's next here? Let's do the little mouse. This little guy. Now, this one too. You could do the squirrel and the mouse in either color combination, the gray or the brown. So let's stamp him off. That's way too dark. And let's look at that. I think that looks pretty good. Let's just go with that. Let's go with this one and get his little eyes in and his little nose. And this guy too, I should have put his little whiskers on. And that would be at the very end. So you don't want to put any whiskers on, do any details like that until you're at the very end of your coloring. Whoops, I'm going with a small brush. Tiny, tiny little brush. Number one. I just really like the quality of these brushes. I think they really work great. Even though they're tiny, they don't hardly have any bristles, but they work so great. And this little guy, I mean, he's so quick and easy. There's just nothing to him. Let's get his little paws in here. And his little pink ears. You know, if you want the pink, you know, I'm taking it from the red, but if you want it more a warmer pink, just add a little brown to it. Just a tiny bit of brown. He would be so cute gray too. And again, with the cheek. We're going to do the same thing again with the cheek. So we're just going to kind of put it in. And they've got these big, huge cheeks. And that's going to bring it forward. See how that just kind of makes it look like it's popping out? You can see that? And, you know, when you do that, you just color these little areas. You don't have a lot to do. There's not a lot to color. You know, keep those areas where the face is. Keep that white. I know I've said that a million times, you guys, but it's so important. So important to do that. It's such a little thing, but it really makes all the difference. Okay, so let's add this little guy's whiskers. And he's done. That's all you have to do. That's all you, and you know, a really cute little white mouse, that would be so cute too. And you could do the same thing. You would bring this forward. You would just bring the little cheeks forward with a gray. And then just keep everything really, really light. Be so cute. Okay, let's go on. Which ones are left here? Okay, we've got let's do the owl. Let's do this little guy. And I'm gonna color the whole thing with the brown. 969. Let's stamp it off. And by the way, I'm using the smooth side of the watercolor paper. So it really, you know, when you're doing these little detailed images, it's pretty important to just use that smooth side so you don't lose the detail. Okay, number one step. What is it, you guys? Yep, the eyes. And you can see how the character, he doesn't have any life at all because his eyes are not bright. So we're going to give him some really intense eyes. And then I'm going to take my brown, my fine tip brown, and I'm going to do this little beak. And already he looks better, doesn't he? He looks so much better. Okay, so I'm going to use my little brush, my number one. And I'm just going to start pulling the color out. The top of his head, you know, this area up here, that's going to be lighter. We can just pull this color out of his little wings. Just drag this out and drag this forward. Okay, now we can add some color. So I'm going to put here, I've got this warm brown on here, and I'm going to take some of this dark brown. This is a really dark, this is a 879. It really, you know, it's just a dark brown. And I'm going to switch back to my bigger brush. And I'm just going to add some dark brown, maybe with a little of this warm brown. And brush some color onto his wings. And this little area up here. Keep just a tiny little bit of a highlight, you know, on the top. And then you can, you know, you can come back in and just put some details in for the wings. But we're gonna keep him pretty simple. This is just that warmer brown. I'm just gonna add a little bit in here, under here, his little chest. And this is pretty light in here, so I'm just gonna add a little detail where his little feathers would be. And let's switch back here, switch brushes back again. And I'm just gonna do his little cheeks too. You know, they've got these big cheeks and it looks like their little, their beak is just kind of tucked between their cheeks. So cute. And let's just add a little pink, tiny bit. And I'm going to take some of this really dark and just put some little detail in. Okay. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Let's put a little darker. Let's put a little dark color behind him since he would be awake at night. And it would be so cute to put him up in a tree and use your Molotov and just put some little stars behind him or a moon. Be so cute. Be cute at Halloween. Put him with those little pumpkins. And a real dark sky. Be careful, you know, when you're putting the sky in, make sure you don't touch any of these lines. How cute. So cute. Okay, let's go on to our little raccoon. On to this guy. Now, this guy is gray. So we don't have the option of doing him brown. We're just going to do him gray, and we're going to use that dark brown like this one. So the 969, and then we're going to do the black over the top. Now in this case, I'm using the N25, but just use a black watercolor. And then we're going to stamp it off. That is really dark. Wow. Okay, I think we're good now. Okay. That looks good. We've got him dark. Now this one is a little more complicated, but not really. So that doesn't really sound right, does it? There's a little more thought to him, but he's just as easy as the others, especially if you just know what to do. So first step, darken the eyes. He's got these little black marbles. And his big nose. So we're going to darken this. And you can see he's already got some life in him. And I'm going to use my tiny brush now for this guy. So you can see these little defining lines here. This is where his little bandit, you know, mask goes. So you can start by that. Now the thing about this little guy, and let me show you on the one that I did here. See the white around his eyes? That's really important to leave that. Now on here, it's just the black spot. So you've just got the black dot. So you have to make a point of leaving this white around his eyes. Okay, so that's something to really keep in mind. And you've got this little line here. So as it comes over, you're just gonna kind of come over and meet that little line. And the same on this side. And just drag this over. Start here because this is always a really good place to kind of get the idea of where the lines are and where the color is. So a little mask. He already looks like a little raccoon now, doesn't he? His ears also are pretty dark. So I've got some black on my palette. And I'm just using this. I'm just using this black now to just color in this area in his ears. This is black. His little paws, pretty dark. And then this line here, you can just follow this line right across. Just follow that line and drag this color down. Okay, still with me? Okay, so now we're going to take a little more gray and we're just going to there's a little tiny line up here. So we're going to kind of separate the gray. Now there's also a white spot right above his little bandit mask. So we just want to leave that on here too. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so now let's go in and really darken his little mask area. And be careful, you know, where the eyes are. You know, these little raccoons always have this concerned look on their face because of the way their mask goes. And you can soften that a little bit by making the eyes more rounded. If the eyes are more oval, he's going to look more concerned, worried. So in this case, the little brush is really is a must. But he's so fun to do. He's just so cute. He looks, you know, by the time you're done, he looks so realistic. And then we can darken this up here just a little bit more. You could go back in and do this even darker if you want. And I'm going to add a little more black to his little paws. He's got these little dark paws. Okay, let's make his ears just a little darker inside. When you can do that contrast where you've got the dark and the light, it's going to really help to make things look three-dimensional. So you can add some detail in like that too. So let's add his little whiskers because he's got them too. Be sure that, you know, when you go to add these whiskers that your color is dry. Let's put just a couple up here too. And there we go. Just simple as that, you guys. Just nothing to it. Okay, did we get all 5 of these guys? Okay, let's just put one of these little characters in a container. And I just inked one of the containers from the one of the foundations. So let me make this. Let me go like this. Okay, so here's the little potting bench. I just inked this part, so you can see on the actual image. This is actually what it looks like. I just inked this, and stamped it on here. So, and what I did was I just left this part off. So when I went to ink it, and I inked it in the two colors. So I inked it in the dark brown, the 969, and the dark blue, the 565. I inked it in these two colors, stamped it off, and then I took off a part of this so that I don't have, I don't have to stamp over the top of that. So let's see, what little character should we put in here? How about that? How about the raccoon? Because, you know, maybe you guys need one more tutorial on the raccoon. I feel like that's the hardest one. So let's do this little guy. And I'm going to use my positioner because I want to make sure that I get him in the right place. And I might be able to just, yes. So he's just going to be in the bucket just like this. So see, his little hands will go right over the top. And if you leave that space, you don't have to mask it. Now you could do this guy first, and then you could mask off his little hands and then stamp the bucket second. But I don't know, I just think this is easier. Okay, so we're going to ink this in the two colors because we're getting that gray. So we're going to ink it in the dark brown first. The dark brown and then the black. And then I'm going to stamp it off. So I'm just going to grab a piece of paper like this. And just stamp it right inside here. And there he is in his little bucket. Isn't he cute? So here we go. First step, the eyes, the eyes. So important to get this part done. His little marble eyes, his little nose. Now you could start with either. You could do the bucket first, or you could do the little raccoon. I would start with whichever one you think you're the least comfortable doing, because you don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on the bucket and then mess up on something else. So I probably would always start with the little character. That's the easiest place that you could have something go wrong where you would have to start over again. But remember, you're gonna drag this color, see, up and around the eyes. Don't forget to leave that white space for the eyes. That is so important. You'll lose his character if you don't have that white area. So that's the first step. And then his little paws. We're going to have these in here, his little ears. Those are going to be dark. And remember, you can always come back in and make things darker. Remember the white spot, you know, the white area above his little mask too. And then under his chin, remember, you just come under here. You just come under here and then just drag all this color down. Drag all that down. Okay? And now we can add this color back into his mask. Black. It just, you know, when you add that brown to it too, it's not, it still does that, you know, gives it a little more, it makes it look a little more realistic rather than just black and white. And even if you look at these little characters, you know, they do have some brown in their coat. So when you get that mix of color, it's always going to look better. It's always going to look more realistic. And then really, just really darken this little mask, little bandit mask. So cute. And then let's get his little ears really dark. And his little paws. Okay. Got this little gray above here. So we're showing that little white area. Okay, I think we got our little guy ready. Okay, so let's add, let's switch brushes here. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this little bucket. And I'm just gonna pull the color out of the lines. And you can see that some of that brown coming through because I inked it in those two colors. And again, here's the contour. So let's add a little color to it. And you know, we can use some of this black. We can use some of this brown. Kind of mix that together. Get a little gray on this bucket. And then, you know, for sure, we want to do a shadow under that handle. Okay, so let's go on and let's add some little foliages and stuff in here. So I can just grab some little vines. Let's get, he's kind of right down in the center. So, you know, I feel like everything's kind of squished out of the way. And you can put, you know, of course, you can put anything you want in here. Let's add some little flowers. And I'm just using a light blue. And you know, this is the focal point, you know, the little guy in the bucket. So you don't have to do a ton with the flowers. And then just, you know, just blend it all together. This is the fun part, easy part. You know, and, you know, bring that color down, you know, and all around. Just blend it out and drag this color out. You could do that with these little guys too. Just pull that color to the outside and get a really nice halo effect behind them. Let's just add a little color to this. Okay, so let's put something else in here. I mean, we really don't need a lot else. Let's just put this little guy in. Maybe one more here. And maybe just some grass on the bottom. How would that be? The little grass from the foliage set, the first one, the basic foliage set. Still one of my favorites. And just pull that color out of the lines. I'm just going to add a little more blue here just because I kind of lost that, washed that out. And the same here where this bucket is. Okay, you guys, we could put a little sky in too, just right behind here. And there we go. I kind of lost that side of him in the flowers, so I'm just putting him back in here. I always come back in and see somewhere that I can put some little details at the very end. Okay, and I will sign and date this because we sign and date everything. And there you go. I'm going to switch my camera around now so I can see if you guys have any questions. Okay, and I'm back. I hope you guys like that tutorial. Anybody have any questions for me? I'm looking. Love the critters. Good, you guys. Okay, so they are available right now. You can go to the website and get them. The animals are 5425, so this is 5425, and the little veggies 5426. And I will be using these a lot in coming tutorials. So this won't be the only time that you see these little critters, but they are just so fun to do. So I hope you give them a try. Thank you so much for all your comments. You guys are always so encouraging. What were the numbers again? 5425 and 5426. 5426 is the veggies, the little veggies. And 5425 are the little animals, 5 of them. Super fun. I can't wait to do them in some of these foundations too, which I will be. So like I said before, I am going to go through all of the foundations. I'm going to get through the entire release, which is one of the reasons that I'm on every Wednesday now. So I want to be able to show you some of these details that I don't get a chance to do and explain how to stamp them and how to use them. So you guys saw it first here on Facebook a day early. So if you want these, you can get them on our website right now. Place my order now, the hard part. Sheila. I promise you they're going to ship fast. You know, we've got them all in stock, so they are in-house. Thank you guys, everyone, for watching. I will go back and read if you guys had any questions about anything. It's pretty simple. Just remember, if you want more of a gray tone, you're going to use that brown first, that dark brown first, and then the black or the blue, dark blue. You can do that too. And then any of the other little critters, they're so small, you can just use the brown if you want more of a little tan or brown character. Remember the cheeks to make them a little more pronounced. And everything else is just super, super simple. So I hope you give it a try. Thank you so much, everyone. And I will see you next week on the next Wednesday Live. Thanks so much.